Ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba. Ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba. Jimmy Kimmel Live. This is ridiculous.
From his house.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Kimmel. I'm Jimmy Kimmel. I try to say my name twice out loud every day now so I don't forget it, which is especially important on what might be the most forgetful day of the year. It's 420. Not only is it 420, it's 42020. This day is so stoned it's repeating itself. Between 420 and all the bread people are making, this country has never been more baked than we are today. Unfortunately, health experts say smoking pot during the virus crisis is not a good idea. It can irritate the lungs and make you more susceptible to illness. And also, you might eat all the food you hoarded. Do we even need marijuana anymore? I mean, everybody's sitting on the couch watching Netflix and wondering what day it is already. Later on, we will be joined by the Santa Claus of 420, Mr. Snoop Dogg, assuming he can get his computer open. You know, on Saturday night, I was part of a special that aired all over the world. It's called One World Together at Home. I co-hosted with Jimmy Fallon and Stephen Colbert. It raised $128 million for COVID-19 relief. And there were some great musical performances from Paul McCartney, Lady Gaga, Eddie Vedder, Taylor Swift. But to me, the MVP of the night was the 78-year-old drummer for the Rolling Stones, Charlie Watts. Watch him closely here because somehow Charlie managed to play the drums without making contact with anything at all.
Now you can't always get what you want, but if you try sometime, yeah, you just might find you get what you need.
I assume he was aware he didn't have any drums. At 420 comes earlier in England, I think. And while being involved in a special of that magnitude was an honor, for sure, the real excitement for me was I made it to Jeopardy, kind of.
Bestseller 200?
This late-night ABC funny man was a hit with kids recently with his book about the serious goose. Nabir.
Who is Jimmy Fallon?
Close enough, Nabir. This is week 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 of the stay-at-home order. I don't know. All I know is my kids have had enough. We sat our family down for like our 340th dinner in a row together last night, and our son Billy said, "No, I want to get in the car and eat at a store." Specifically wanted to eat at Chuck E. Cheese, which I would consider at this point. That's an essential business, right? People are getting restless, especially people who aren't too bright. In Florida on Saturday, I saw the hashtag Florida Morons was trending, and I thought, well, that could mean a lot of things. But what it meant was this. The governor of Florida reopened the beach in Jacksonville, and of course, no one followed the rules. Fortunately, there are no old people living in Florida who might be at risk. So the governor of Georgia is planning to reopen tattoo parlors and bowling alleys this week, which I think that's on their state flag, right? And thousands of Americans in more than a dozen states have gathered to protest stay at home. Not too far from us in Huntington Beach, this brave woman fought passionately for her right to all 31 flavors. There were some very creative signs that illustrated this plight. Many are experiencing so powerfully, like I need a haircut, massage is essential, Jesus is my vaccine, and Buddha is my personal trainer, I think. I don't know. In Denver, Colorado, there was a standoff between protesters and an angry healthcare worker. Well, you know what they say, it ain't over till the fat lady screams crazy right-wing talking points at a medical professional who's trying to save their families' lives. A big reason why these protests are gaining steam is because our president is encouraging them. Despite everyone who works for him telling people to stay at home, despite the official White House mandate being shelter in place, over the weekend, the guy who runs the White House tweeted, "Liberate Michigan, liberate Minnesota, and liberate Virginia." This from a man who refuses to even liberate Melania. It really is irresponsible to the most unbelievable degree to be saying things. One minute he tells us to stay at home, and the next minute he says this.
People feel that way. You're allowed to protest. I mean, they feel that way. I watched the protest, and they were all 6 feet apart. I mean, it was a very orderly group of people.
Right. Let's take a look at that orderly group of people who gathered in Austin, Texas to chant, "Fire Dr. Fauci."
Fire Fauci! Fire Fauci! Fire Fauci! Fire Fauci!
If he thinks those people were 6 feet apart, it might explain why he thinks his hands are normal size. I get that people need to go back to work, I do. But the point of stay at home is to get a lid on this so we can get back to work and then stay at work. I'm starting to think these characters who support Trump might be suicidal. They seem to fight hardest for the things that will kill them. They want freedom to gather in large groups during an epidemic. They want guns. They want pollution. I figured it out. They want to die, and they're taking us down with them. It's like if the Titanic was headed towards the iceberg and half of the passengers were like, can you please speed this thing up? But our president has full confidence that what these protesters are doing is not a problem.
Are you concerned, though, that people coming out in protest are going to spread COVID to other people? They're congregating in ways that health experts have said they should not.
No, these are people expressing their views. I see where they are, and I see the way they're working. They seem to be very responsible people to me.
Yes, they are very responsible. They're very responsible for spreading a deadly virus. He always manages to find the good in people, though. He really seems to be loving holding these press conferences every day, rambling on about nothing, taking credit for everything, that there are plenty of tests, plenty of ventilators, so many ventilators, he would even send some to Iran. On Friday, his press conference went on for an hour 45 minutes, an hour and 8 minutes on Saturday, and on Sunday, an hour and a half. But every one of them he filled with important information, like when he took time to explain the difference between a swab and a Q-tip.
This is what it's about, right? Does it remind you of something? It reminds you of this, right? One's a swab, one's a Q-tip. It's actually different. It's very sophisticated, actually, but it's a little bit like, so this is the swab.
Well, I think I speak for all of us when I say that was the worst magic trick I've ever seen. Think he always has a Q-tip in his pocket? The reason for whatever that was is Trump finally invoked the Defense Production Act to order businesses to manufacture more swabs, a shortage of which are holding up tests. He alternates between saying there are no shortages of anything and that the shortages are the governor's fault. Literally everything he accuses others of, he does himself. To the point where you're like, this has to be some kind of weird compulsion. Like if he criticized Flavor Flav for wearing a clock around his neck and a grill, the next day someone would find this photograph and he'd act like it never happened. You remember a guy named Hunter Biden? You may recall the president had some concerns about him getting paid because his father was vice president. Well, turns out the Trump campaign has been paying the wife and girlfriend of Trump's sons $180,000 a year apiece. Those donations people make to his MAGA campaign, $30,000 a month of that goes to Lara Trump and Kimberly Guilfoyle, which I guess makes sense. I mean, did we really expect a woman to date Donald Trump Jr. for free?